Yeah, I'm curious about whenever Johnny's lawyers are going to ask her questions, man. This is going to be very interesting.
Thank you, Your Honor. Amber, I'm going to take you up to March of 2013.
Okay.
Can you describe your relationship with Mr. Depp during that month? And we'll start there.
I remember that was after a period of some peace, and then and sobriety. Johnny was sober, drinking Beck's, and my dad, who was struggling with alcohol and drug addiction at the time, had fallen off the wagon, and I remember he said, "Why don't we I want to send a picture to your dad of support," because my sister was upset with my dad, and so he poured a shot and kind of said, "Let's take a picture." I don't drink spirits, but I know that, I kind of held up in that picture. It's kind of eerie because I just think it's bizarre. He had broken this long period of sobriety that I thought was going to be the end of him drinking forever. Sounds foolish now, but I, held up this kind of glass with him, and we sent the picture to my dad because, I didn't know what else to do. And I remember thinking it was weird that he was drinking. And
okay.
And then the month got really crazy from that point on. It was a bit of a revolving door of accusations. He was accusing me of having affairs with, frankly, just one person. I had an acquaintance with somebody, and he was accusing me of being with them, and then it was accusing me of being with my friend, the one I had seen in Spain. I'm, in these kind of arguments, nothing I do is working. Walking out of the room is me leaving him, walking away from me. Hey, where are you going? I'm talking to you. That it went from that to pulling me in by my arm, still shouting about the accusations.
Okay.
I'm trying to diffuse the situation by trying to tell him I'm not sleeping with this person and I'm not sleeping with that person. And it was kind of, as soon as it seemed as though I had convinced him of one, there was somebody else he was sure I was sleeping with. And it was a revolving door at that time. A painting I had hanging on the wall, done by my ex, who's an artist. That was, one day he was convinced that was proof I was sleeping with her or having an affair with her. I didn't really love him, and all the while I'm madly in love with him and trying to convince him. So March started with this picture of him doing a shot, and he's kind of saying, "Let's send it to your dad to show support." And what I remember of March is just like it's almost like it was a never-ending fight. It was just, there were breaks in it. What kept me in it is because I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, the sobriety shoe, if you will. I kept waiting for him to get to the point where it's not supportable or anymore, and he's done with it and he's ready to get clean and sober again, because there commences a period of like pure joy. And it was one fight after the other, March.
So let me start with the painting incident. Please tell the jury what happened on that particular incident with the painting.
As I mentioned, the painting, which had been hanging there for months, one day he kind of stayed up doing cocaine, just drinking, doing cocaine, music, which is not in and of itself that weird in my relationship with Johnny at this point. Like, he stays up and keeps weird hours and smokes and stuff. But he was drinking brown liquor and doing a lot of cocaine, and it was like, it became clear to me in that argument, if you will, that he wasn't making sense. He had effectively just taken, it seemed like, a turn and had decided that the painting was an offense that he could not forgive me for. It meant I was having an affair with my ex-partner, whom I had already split. And it made no sense to me. So
Okay.
I'm trying to kind of quell the accusations by saying, it's been there, and what are you talking about? And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. And, he was demanding I take it down. He eventually takes it down and tries to burn it, but it was unsuccessful, luckily, because he was not, he wasn't, with one of those normal, what do you call them, Bic lighters, he wasn't very successful at doing it while drinking. To the extent he was, but I remember it was this kind of ridiculous fight. Like, didn't feel like it needed to be an argument, but it seemed like nothing I could do.
No proof? No, it didn't get
nothing
burned.
I could say.
Yeah, it didn't get burned.
Tried
Should have used a mega lighter.
I left the room. I left the house. I eventually came back. It was like a whole night, an evening, a night, and then a morning of this. So this morning in particular, I think it was the 22nd of March. There were several incidents in March, though. But in this particular one, he had something to go to. He was filming with Keith Richards and Tom Waits.
Well, let me, before you go into that part, let's pull up Defendant's Exhibit 161,
Okay.
which is already admitted into evidence, I believe, Your Honor.
Yes, 161 with redactions.
Thank you. And I'm going to
How people
show
remember
you
each bunch of
Defendant's
shit
Exhibit
after each decade ago?
161.
I don't know, man.
And
March
the
of
date on this is
2013, like-
3/12/2013, and it's
probably playing
text
WoW.
exchange between you
Yeah,
and
actually,
Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
I think it's pretty accurate.
Okay. And the first one is from you to Mr. Depp. Just thought you should know there exists a book. Is that to you? Is it to Mr. Depp from you, or it's vice versa? Isn't it?
It's Johnny texting me.
Just thought you should know there exists a book titled Disco Bloodbath. And then you say, we need that book. And you say, is this about last Friday night by any chance? And he says, how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? And I'm not
Say
going to
it.
repeat the rest of it. Could you tell the jury what happened on that Friday night?
There were, like I said, there was a few different incidents in March. I believe this one happened in the
I don't know
Eastern
how they
Columbia
remember
building,
this
which is
shit,
one
man.
of
That's
Johnny's
crazy.
penthouses. They're in downtown, so a different part of Los Angeles. And we'd sometimes go there. I remember he was accusing me again of sleeping with this artist, this musician who I'd never slept with. I was denying it. I barely knew the person. And then he was accusing me of sleeping with my friend in Spain. And I remember nothing I could do. He called this person on the phone and screamed at him.
That's a lot.
He didn't speak English, so he was really confused as to what he was being yelled at by Johnny. But I remember those were the accusations. That was the fight. But it was one to the
Sounds
next
funny.
accusation. And I remember I was kind of doing that juggling act. I was in one of these fights. I believe it's
How
this
convenient.
one in his downtown ECB. We call it.
That is convenient.
Loft.
Yeah.
And
Very
we're in the
convenient.
kitchen living room area, and he backhands me. And, it was, he wears a lot of rings. I remember kind of just feeling like my lip went into my teeth. And it got a little blood on the wall. Just
Okay.
that simple, a little bit of blood on the wall. As hard as it is to explain this, I was so caught up in the relationship and also very occupied in defending what I only could assume he believed, these accusations, that, you know, I didn't internalize, like, I didn't make that big of a deal of it. I kind of pride myself on being tough, and, you know, I don't make a big deal out of, you know, smaller injuries. And I know that sounds horrible because and hard maybe to understand, but
what about whenever she had the
my
thing on her
best way
nose?
to cope with it is I kind of,
Remember that?
you know, minimize it, make sure no one make sure he knows that I'm tough and
with like the
can't knock me down,
the
and
fake blood.
I make a joke of it, clearly. Make light.
I'm going to, Michelle, if you can take this one down and bring up 170A. Did there come a time in March, Amber, where you sent a picture to your mom?
Yes, this is sometime in March 2013. I sent it to her because I had been texting about some of the craziness, and
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain as to what she may have texted. All right, next question.
Without saying what you said in the text, explain why you were sending it to your mom.
I was reaching out. I was very lonely in what I was living in, and I wanted help. I wanted advice, help. I just wanted to talk to somebody and figure out how I could make this stop.
And is this a picture that you took of yourself in March of 2013?
I did.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 170A.
Any objection?
No objection, Your
All right,
Honor.
170A in evidence. You can publish the picture.
Okay, here we go.
And how did you sustain that bruise, Amber?
I had thrown Johnny slapped me. I walked away from him, and that made it worse. We got into like a shouting match. And he kind of did this thing with his body where I could tell he was going to hit me again. I picked up I remember it kind of like a little pot, not a pot, but like a vase.
Wouldn't her face be red?
And I remember I got away from him enough as he reels back. I threw it in his direction.
I don't know.
And
I
actually
guess it
managed
could
to
be
get away
later.
before he got me. He grabbed me by the arm, and he kind of just held me on the floor, screaming at me. I don't know how many times he hit me in the face, but I remember being on the floor of my apartment, and I'm just.
Then
I
why is
remember
there
thinking, how
But
could this happen to me again?
Can you bring up 170? Thank you, Michelle.
no bruise on the face, but on her arm. Yeah, I just
If we can, and just to start, it's at 3/23/2013, and if we can scroll up. This is a text message exchange with your mom, correct?
okay. Here
Yes,
we go.
it is.
Okay, let's go. Scroll down and then.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to hearsay.
Let's wait until we get to the spot. All right, and is this the picture that you sent to your mom on 3/23/2013?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of 170, just that picture that's on the text.
With
Along
no words?
Well, it says from 2 weeks ago on it.
Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
If we redact the from 2 weeks ago, can we admit it then? And then just have the showing that she sent it to her mom?
Maybe
Yeah,
we
what
could
the
try.
fuck? All right, mute the mic. Give me a second. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yep, there we go. It's just like, how is it that the picture of her where she gets hit after she said that Johnny repeatedly hit her in the face? Like, how do you get repeatedly hit in the face over and over and over by what she literally just said, and there's nothing on her face? And how would it make any sense that she put makeup on her face to conceal her face, but she didn't do anything with her arm? Like, it's... bro, I don't know about this, guys. I don't know. It seems very odd. Very, very odd.
All right, 170 will be in evidence.
And you can see half of her face, too. Jesus, man. He wears rings, by the way? Yeah.
May we publish to the jury, please?
All right.
That's a good point. Yeah, he does wear the rings. Yeah, what about
And that's
that?
the picture you sent to your mom
Yes, it is.
on March 23rd, 2013.
Yes, it was from a previous fight,
Okay.
the bruise.
All right. Now, did you have any other altercations in March 2013 with Mr. Depp?
Yes, we had a couple of these fights in Orange that were around this time, one of which I started to tell you about the painting.
You know, and I know I've interrupted you now twice on that, but I realize the jury doesn't. Can you tell them what you mean by orange, at Orange?
Yeah, I don't know
Sorry,
what the fuck she's
Orange
talking
was
about
my
either.
apartment that I kept in Los Angeles at the time.
And it was an apartment. What type of an apartment?
I rented the top of a duplex. So it was a house with the landlord living on the bottom floor. I rented the top floor.
Okay. Thank you. Now, please continue with the painting. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
It seemed like nothing I could say to Johnny would convince him. He wanted me to remove the painting. And he wanted me to admit to this affair that I wasn't having. And I didn't want to admit to it because it's not true. So I held out, and he just drank more and did more cocaine. And I woke up the next morning, I think it was on the 22nd or the 23rd. I woke up in the morning and the breakfast table was like cocaine and booze. And I realized that that I wasn't going to be able to talk I wasn't going to be able to talk
Jesus.
our situation down. I wasn't going to be able to talk him out
Frosted
of it. He
Flakes.
was just so convinced that I was fighting with him or at the reason that he wouldn't leave the house, and he had something to go film that was important, and there were important people waiting for him. And I remember people were reaching out, his assistants, his manager sister, everyone was wondering where he was. And I kept feeling embarrassed and unable to move this person out of my house. I couldn't calm him down. I couldn't change. He was just so intent on me admitting the details of this affair that I wasn't having. And me pointing out that the cocaine wasn't making his situation any better made me the bad cop. Then I'm the nag. So eventually I called my sister. He had a kind of a buddy-buddy relationship with her at the time. And at the time, she occasionally did cocaine. I didn't, but she did. So I was like, hey, come take over. Maybe you can buddy him and talk him into leaving the house. Just
Okay.
getting out of the house. And she did.
Very responsible of her not to do that.
I
Extremely
remember
responsible.
his assistants trying to get him out.
The restraint.
Eventually, in the evening, I think early evening, he finally
Snitching on her sister? Yeah, I know.
agrees to leave, but I can't tell our relationship status. I can't tell if he still is convinced of these things or if he's just going to sleep it off and it's going to go back to normal sobriety, sorry kind of phase.
Yeah. One of those
And,
things.
He was still upset, but like seemingly calming down. So I agreed to go with him. He wanted me to go to the shoot. I had plans, so I kind of reluctantly agreed, but didn't want to set anything off. I didn't want to engage anymore. I didn't want to do anything that could be perceived as antagonizing him or
Right.
engaging more. So I went with him. We grabbed the dogs. We get in the car. We're on the way there. We're headed up. Sweetser's the street. It's a major street that leads up to Johnny's houses. He effectively owns the end of the street. It's like a cul-de-sac. So we're nowhere near his home, but we were driving up this street.
Okay.
And he has the window down. He's smoking. It wasn't all the way down, but, you know, he's constantly smoking. And at some
Yeah.
point he starts howling out of the window and then grabs
What?
two small dogs. Well, one was Johnny's dog and one was my dog, but he grabs, if I remember correctly, Boo, his dog, slightly chunkier teacup Yorkie, and he grabs this teacup Yorkie and holds Boo out of the window of the moving car. And he's howling like an animal
What?
while holding the dog out of the window. And everyone in the car, I'll never forget it, everyone just froze. No one did anything. And I too was like torn as to what I should do because I didn't want to do anything to cause him to react, drop the dog. You know, it was just this eerie moment where he's howling.
Michael Jackson moment.
And holding this animal outside of the car window. And more than that weird memory is I have a memory of everyone just kind of not really reacting to him. Like no one really kind of did anything. I eventually kind of pulled his arms gently back into the vehicle and kind of got the dog back on the seat and we continued driving, but no one reacted.
Well, what are you
Just
gonna
kind of
do?
avoided dealing with it. We get to the place, the house where he was filming this thing that he was late for, I suppose, for the day.
Okay.
And we walk in. Meanwhile, I've been bombarded by text messages and calls and conversations with everyone seemingly so stressed about.
Objection, hearsay.
All right.
Just don't tell us what somebody else said, just what you observed.
I understood everyone was stressed. They seemed stressed to me about the tardiness. Where is he? Let's get him there. You know, so we get him there. And no one reacts when we get in. I mean, we walk into this house where everyone was waiting for him, and everyone smiles and says, you know, hey, boss.
Objection, hearsay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's,
True.
Michelle, can we pull up 167?
Santa,
Hey.
thanks for 100 subs, man. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
I think is B the one that's in 167?
Thank you very much, man.
Right. Oh, it's A. Okay, then go ahead and pull up A. Does Your Honor show that one to be in 167A? Defendants. I'm sorry.
Well, this might be your 167A, but it's in evidence as a plaintiff's number.
Where the
I'm not
hell
sure
is
which
it?
Plaintiff's number.
What's
it
this?
is. I don't need it in twice, so.
I would agree. Do we?
Yeah, where's it? Wait, are we gonna ever get back to the tea thing?
Your Honor, I don't think it's this version of the photograph.
Because like that was like kind of a
that's
like
been
she
admitted,
really
so it's
emphasized how
a-
much tea he drank.
It's a
Same
different.
photograph,
Where did
but a
this-
little different.
like-
Is that where?
It's not the same photograph.
Okay, not the same
right, well
photograph.
then-
Then we'll go with it. Then what
Okay.
number is it?
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
Do you recognize this
Santa
photo?
again. Jesus
I do.
Christ! Thank
Please
you,
tell the
man.
jury what it is.
Thank you so much.
It's a picture I
Thank you so
took of my breakfast table that morning.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 167A.
167A. Any objection?
Okay, let's see it.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
Let's see it. Yep, there we go. All right. Yeah, it's just like the story. It sounds so fucking insane, man. It sounds insane. I want to hear the witnesses to the car dog scene. Yeah, it's just like, and also like the car dog scene. It seems like Johnny. I feel like there's a pretty high probability that Johnny does a lot of drugs.
67A.
You know, like I feel like
You can publish.
there's a good certainty on that. Santa, wait, was that again?
May we publish that?
Jesus
Thank
Christ,
you.
thank you so much. Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Amber, you said that you took this that morning. Is that
Yes.
correct? Could you tell the jury what the box is that has the property with the skull bones, property of JD?
That's Johnny's drug box. I've seen it used for pills, but at the time it was bags of Coke, like dime bags of Coke.
Okay. And what are these white lines on the table to the left of that box?
I wonder.
That is cocaine.
Okay. And do you know what is in these two glasses that have kind of a gold colored liquor?
Yes, they're different, actually. It's confusing. They're different, different liquids. The one in the back in the larger glass is, I believe at the time I was doing these tabs, or Barocca, that's what they're called. They're little tablets. And anyway, I remember at the time that's what I was putting in my water because I had just come back from France where they sell them. And then the brown liquid in the shot glass is Johnny's liquor. I don't know what it's called. But
Okay.
we kept it in the freezer. At the time, it was at that time, March 2013.
God
I
damn,
hadn't,
thank you, man.
You know,
Holy shit, Santa.
I
Thank you
still
very much, man.
didn't have
Thank you
the,
so much.
hard line. I won't even keep that, in my freezer sort of attitude or posture with him. I wasn't
guy
that
just won't
bold
stop.
at the time, I didn't like
Holy
it, but
fuck. Thank you,
I
man.
didn't have that strength. I kind of, at that time, I think was
500?
doing
Thank you so
things
much.
like trying
man.
to pour it out when I could.
Santa's Johnny Depp's account.
What is the bag, the brown bag on the left side? What is
Yeah.
that?
That's a DOP kit. It's his prescriptions and cigarette, tobacco, weed, things like that.
Okay, and then above it, there appears to be a CD of some
Wes,
sort.
thanks for 20.
Or a
Thank you,
DVD,
man.
something. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's the single. I believe is what it's called. The single he was making at the time. I think that's the song that they were filming a video for, if I'm correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, did you end up sending a copy of this picture to Rocky Pennington that day?
I did. I sent it to my best friend at the time, and was like, "Look at my morning."
Objection. Hearsay.
Okay, you can't say what you said, but you sent it to your friend, correct?
I
Let's
sent
go
it
to
to my friend.
167, please.
Okay.
And is that the email in which you sent this picture to Rocky Pennington on 3/22,
Yes.
2013? Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of the picture with the redaction of the message on it, with the top with identifier redactions, and we take out the rest of it.
Okay.
All right. Any objection?
No objection.
All right. So
Pictures by
redactions,
email?
167 and evidence with redactions.
Back then, some phones would do that, but I don't know. Usually not with a message. Yeah, BlackBerry. Yeah.
All right. And may we publish, please?
Okay, let's see it. Here we go. Let's see what the hell this is.
All right. And is this the text message, the email that you sent to Rocky with this picture?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to
Yeah, it was an iMessage. Yeah.
take you to Let's go to Hicksville. Let's tell the jury about Hicksville, May 2013.
Okay,
Can you tell
all
the
right,
jury
here
what
we go.
transpired at Hicksville?
It is it's a fancy trailer park
Oh, wow.
hotel in the middle of nowhere, set up with these little trailers, and
Have your titles redacted
we
tomorrow?
had made a plan to go there with friends, and we were going to do, like laughy, as we said, laughy drugs, like mushrooms, eat mushrooms, sit by a campfire. There's really not a whole lot else to do out there. It's like a getaway.
What is
we
it with
made this
people and
plan.
doing drugs?
And
God
it was
damn.
going fine. It was like a, kind of like a party out in the desert.
Not cocaine, though.
With a few friends and
Wes, thanks for 20 subs. Appreciate it.
campfire and music, and I don't know somebody brought MDMA. It was being passed around, and somebody who took it kind of was starting to feel the effects of it, I guess is the best way to describe. She kind of reacted in this way where when the MDMA hit her, she kind of, we were sitting around a campfire, all of us, and she kind of just leaned into me and put her, head on my shoulder.
Okay.
And kind of grabbed my arm. I took it, to be the effects of the drug.
Yeah.
And I think I had eaten a mushroom cap, but was not feeling anything at the time. I don't remember feeling anything because the night just kind of changed pretty dramatically before I really felt anything of the effects of that. But that was the environment we were in, and
yes.
and as soon as she kind of did this thing where she leaned into me, Johnny gets really activated. He gets really upset, and he starts. Well, at first she thought he was kidding too. She thought he was kind of making a joke. I think we all did. Everyone kind of responded at first, that it, like it was a joke. But he was like, "Hey man, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing?" And she kind of giggled and kind of leaned into me more, and I knew in my body just instantly that it wasn't a joke. But she didn't, so she's kind of still attached
Just
to my
fucking
arm.
around,
He
yeah.
says it again to her, louder. He says, "Hey man, you think you're touching my fucking girl? You think you're touching my fucking girl? That's my fucking girl." And he gets louder and louder, and she kind of did this thing, half understanding what was going on. I think she kind of started to cry at this point, but she kind of threw up her hands, and Johnny grabbed her wrist and kind of twisted it and pulled
Okay.
her into him and said, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist? Huh?" And he kind of held her, and she just looked frozen. And she's crying, and was just denying
Movie
understanding
dialogue?
what was
Yeah, it
going
sounds a
on.
bit odd.
I stepped in. I kind of take Johnny's arm around, kind of take Johnny's hand, and kind of we start communicating. I don't remember if he immediately was accusing me or if it was sometime after. I wish I remembered, but we agreed that we'd go and talk about it in the trailer. So we walked to the trailer, and when we're in the trailer, Johnny, by the time we get into the trailer, Johnny tells me that I had been instigating the, asking for this, and that I had invited it, and that I hadn't been honest with him about my relationship with this woman. And I didn't really know her that well. I mean, I actually don't know her at all, but I had met her. And I remember in the trailer, he's accusing me of lying about it.
Okay.
And that that I had something with her. I'm trying to
I
diffuse
thought they
that.
were
I'm
on
trying to calm him
drugs.
down. And he just turned all that it seemed like he
Jesus.
turned all that rage onto the trailer itself. And he just started smashing things. He picked up something on the table and threw it right into the glass cabinet. He hit with his hand a wall sconce. He cleared the tabletop on the little fold down like kitchen dining room area in this trailer. I mean, it's a trailer, so there's only so much you can do. And he's screaming at me, screaming at me. And I eventually go back into the bedroom area. He comes into the bedroom area. We had what I can only describe as it sounded like nonsense from him. It wasn't making sense. And
Okay.
I realized that he's just probably really high.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because it wasn't making sense anymore. It wasn't like a direct accusation. He wasn't hearing me when I was saying I wasn't involved, wasn't cheating on him. I wasn't secretly trying to engage this woman in some sort of sexual affair. And then it became clear to me he was like looking for something. He cleared things off the bed. I went into the bathroom, and as I come out, he asked me where it is and how long I've been hiding it. And I was like, what are you talking about?
What is this?
And he says, you know what I'm fucking talking about. You know what I'm fucking talking about. Be honest with me. Where are you hiding it? And he kind of like makes to look into the bathroom. And I gestured to the bathroom.
How does she remember all this? As she
which
was
is
eating
to my
mushrooms.
right. I kind of like gestured to him and I said,
I mean, I never eat
like,
mushrooms, so I don't know.
what am I hiding and where am I
I
going
thought
to
you
hide
wouldn't be
it?
able to know.
And we're standing in this little hallway area outside of the bathroom, and
Not some good
he starts,
mushrooms suck.
you know, what it feels like patting me down or saying he's patting me down. I can't recall, but he ripped my dress, the strap top part of my dress. I had just dyed this thing myself pink, and it's just one of those things. I was like, you know, I just finished that dress. And he's like grabbing my breasts, he's touching my thighs, he rips my underwear off, and then he proceeds to do a cavity search.
Johnny's acting like he didn't even know what the fuck she's talking about.
He said he was looking
Like-
for his drugs, his cocaine, his coke. I was
But-
wondering how somebody who didn't do cocaine and was against it, that was in and of itself causing problems in our relationship. How could I hide? Why would I hide his drugs from, like he was insinuating that I was doing it or something? It made no sense. And he was telling me we're gonna conduct a cavity search, shall we? Like, just shoved his fingers inside me. I just stood there staring at the stupid light. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. While he did that, he twisted his fingers around. I didn't say like stop or anything.
Feels a bit forced. I mean, I'm
The
listening.
next morning,
I listen to what people say. You know.
what transpired?
I remember thinking that Johnny would change his mind. And it would be, I thought it would end differently. I kind of froze. I don't know how we went to bed that night. I don't know how I went to bed. I don't know how I slept.
Yeah.
I don't know how we woke up. I don't remember having a conversation with him the next day. I don't remember
Okay.
talking to him about it or confronting him about it. I remember wanting it to be okay. I remember just wanting whatever fucking weird trip, whatever trip that was to end, you know, just to be over and for it to just go back to normal. And I remember my friends were out by the pool. Like there was a pool in the center of the trailer park, and I remember putting on my, just putting on my face and going back into this like crap, and I remember seeing my friends by the pool thinking they were just having a great time, and no one knew what was, I felt so lonely, like no one knows everyone was just having a good time, like normal stuff. So I just smiled and made a joke about how trashed the trailer got, and we had to get the manager, who started off furious that Johnny had wrecked the thing. And then he had this like black mesh tank top, not tank top, it was like a meshy kind of shirt on. And I remember he came into the trailer and looked around and was like, whoa, what happened here? Whoa. And Johnny had an exchange with him. And I remember watching this man be so charmed. It was just a kind of a surreal experience. And, it just went away. That just got fixed. We walked out of the trailer at some point. My dog stepped on a bee. We went to the vet and went on with our, vacation. We actually went to another location after that, and then eventually went home and went about our life.
I'm going to ask you to take a look. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 176?
I don't believe her. I feel like some of the personal anecdotes about like dog stepping on a bee, about the dress and stuff like that. These, if I was very cynical, I would say these are
Did there come a time
deliberately
that you
put in there to make it
wrote
sound
an
relatable.
email?
Objection, leading, and hearsay.
You see what I'm
Your Honor.
saying?
May we
It's
approach
like
her?
it's deliberately put in there to make her seem relatable to the jury. You see kind of where I'm at, right? It's like, and like there have been a number of these cases where like she'll make these asides, and like also there are like these irrelevant details, etc. Like and again, like I like if I had to guess, like I bet it probably didn't happen this way. Like maybe some of this happened, but I bet it didn't happen this way. Because, like, okay, you're on mushrooms. Everybody else is fucked up on mushrooms. But somehow you remember everything down to, like, the details and, like, what people are doing, the dialogue. But then after that, you forget everything. And then you remember what shirt the guy was wearing. It's just, like, how is it that you remember all the things that don't matter and you forget the things that do matter? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, what the fuck, right?
In June 2013,
I don't know how the drugs work, so it's hard for me to
how were
really
you
say.
feeling about your relationship with Mr. Depp?
May we have the exhibit taken away from? Sure. Thank you.
I
Do mushrooms?
by June, I was so torn. I was so in love with this person because when it was good, it was so good. You've never felt love like that. At least that's how it felt. So much. I felt like he recognized me and I recognized him, and there was just something there that was the love of my life. And he was. He was. But he was also this other thing. He was also this other thing. And that other thing was awful, awful thing that would come out and take over. And it was, you couldn't see the Johnny I loved underneath it. It was this other thing. And no one told him. No one was honest with him. No one, you know, he'd pass out in his own vomit. He'd lose control of his body, his, you know, he'd lose control, and everyone would clean up after him. I cleaned up after him. I mean, this man lost control of his bowels, and I cleaned up after him. His security cleaned up after him, changed his pants in front of me. He would pass out in his own sick.
They're laughing. They're laughing.
You know, and then he'd walk around saying
Oh my
he
God.
didn't have a problem. Until he did. Until he couldn't
Jesus.
support it anymore, and he'd get clean and he'd get sober, and then he was this thing again. This thing that made me feel so loved, that made me feel like,
Oh my God.
like
Oh my God.
like my soulmate. As cheesy as that sounds, I just felt like he knew me. And I recognized something in him, either some part of my makeup and my background or something, that I just got it. And I loved him and understood him. It just got so scary, the other part of him. And in June, I wanted to leave him. I didn't want to leave him. I wanted to leave him. I wanted him to get better. And he expressed to me so many times when he was in that period of getting clean and sober, he would tell me, "You saved my life. Baby girl, you saved my life."
They proved him innocent all this years
Everyone
ago?
else was saying that to me,
Yeah, a
and
lot
I
of it.
believed it.
Yeah.
You know, if everyone else was saying it, he was saying it. I thought, just like his other friends who had gotten clean and sober and
Yeah.
stayed that way, his older friends, these rock stars that he hung out with that had like gotten clean and sober and they had 20, 30 years, something, you know, I thought, and Johnny told me he would be that person, that he was going to be that person, and I believed it. I had so much, I looked at that man twice my age, you know, I was 25, looking at this man twice my age, and I saw hope and like promise. I had so much hope. You know, the whole thing, kids and growing old together, sort of hope. If it was just for this one thing that he could do, which would save his life, which would be to get clean and sober.
Yeah.
And I believed it. And I wrote this letter to myself, among many letters to myself.
Objection,
because I
hearsay.
thought,
All she did was refer to that she wrote it. She isn't saying what she said.
I'll overrule for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wrote that letter because I thought it would be read to him. I could read it to him. I could say it to him in intervention, you know, in help. And he would later thank me for, as he used to thank me all the time for saving his life.
Where's the letter? Well, she wrote it to
Did
herself.
there come a time later?
I bet
in
she
June
did. Like, I believe that.
you finally met
Sure.
Johnny's kids.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I finally met them in the summer of 2013.
Okay.
I had been with Johnny for over a year, maybe like a year and a half at this point, is my best guess. And I was dying to meet them, you know, dying to get to know these kids. I felt like I knew them already. I had his daughters, and Jack's, both of his kids' art on my fridge, and I had never even met them. You know, Johnny had brought them over one day and kindly given them to me, and I had them up on my fridge because I felt like I knew them, just how much he talked about them. And
Okay.
I finally got to meet them. at the Lone Ranger premiere.
Remember what I said
at
about the
Disneyland?
irrelevant anecdotes that are personal,
yeah,
that are
summer
relatable to
2013.
the audience?
So then I'm going to jump to, and it's not much
Well, I
of a
said
jump,
that.
to June 26, 2013.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's something. Ain't that something?
There was a plane ride to Russia with Johnny. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that particular event.
Well, that was the first and last time I ever decided it would be a decent idea to do drugs with Johnny.
Keep in mind, they get married after this.
I did MDMA with him on the plane, which was as
Yeah.
stupid as it may sound. I just had never. I was very against. Obviously, the cocaine had been a problem. I was very much against him using cocaine. I was against the drinking, supportive of the sobriety, but I'm 26 maybe, ish. And I wanted, I had never heard of anyone making MDMA like what I had done MDMA before. I thought it's a lovey drug. It's a,
Oh my God.
a kind of, I never knew anyone to
I'd rather do coke
get
than
violent
MDMA.
on it.
That's my
And,
opinion.
I thought, well, this is a relatively contained
Fuck.
environment. Maybe this will be different. Maybe I can be a good cop and be part of the, I don't have to be the lesbian counselor all the time, as you would say. I can maybe be,
Oh, that's what he
fun
meant. Oh,
girlfriend.
I get it. I get it.
and I learned the hard way that was not happening.
I wouldn't do either one. I don't do drugs, by the way.
What happened?
No drugs.
Well, we took MDMA. I took a capsule. It's like a powder in a capsule. I took a capsule, and Johnny took several. I didn't count, but it's very different when you see someone take one versus a handful of something. But nothing seemed to set any alarm bells off, and things were going fine until the flight attendant got involved. The flight attendant came by, was engaging with us. I don't think that they're really. It felt like it was before the effects of the drug took over. It was relatively quick, soon after we first took our dose.
Yeah.
If you can say. And the flight attendant,
A mega capsule?
Johnny offered her some. She, of course, said no. And then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine. So she acquiesced and took MDMA with us.
All right.
And within, a few minutes go by, and
Bring some over to the pilot, too.
The same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman, Kelly Sue, who I've told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just like MDMA friendly, was kind of, I'm a woman, he's a man, so she was naturally, I think, more comfortable with me physically. She kind of leaned into me and kind of sat on the arm of the chair I was sitting in. I mean, after all, she's on drugs, and Johnny grabs her hand and tells her not to touch me, and she kind of reacts in a way like she's defending herself and was trying to clarify, and he grabbed her by the wrist and slammed it down on the table and told her he could break her wrist. And I remember thinking, I've heard this before. And that was a pattern that would repeat itself a few times. These things would happen in these kind of cycles where there'd be a certain element that would get filtered for a while, whether it's an accusation or a gesture, and that would be the thing that he looped on.
Same
Called
sort,
it
yeah.
loops. And he grabs her wrist and he tells her he could break her wrist. She cries instantly, denies it, is so apologetic. Eventually he lets go. She goes to the front of the plane where the flight attendant, normally hangs out, and the doors close, and I don't see her much of that whole flight. We land in Russia, and I don't really remember you know, I don't recall any violence on the plane between Johnny and I, but I remember feeling this tension because I was wondering when it was going to aim at me.
All of the people.
Because he had this particular thing about, well, at the time
Johnny has been
understood he had a
violent
particular
towards,
thing, a
were on
sensitivity
drugs.
about me and women, because I had a female partner.
So they have plausible deniability
So
to not remember.
I was feeling nervous, anxious, and I remember we had a very quiet ride. At least I didn't say anything to the ride to the hotel. And almost as soon as we get into the hotel room, Johnny's accusing me of effectively having engaged that, caused that. I, of course, deny it, point out what I thought was obvious, that, you know, like we'd given her drugs, you know, wasn't an affair, wasn't, you know, and I'm trying to argue and defend myself at the same time. And
Yeah.
at one point, Johnny just shoves me, like, I mean, just shoves me hard. And I fall back onto this glass table. I catch myself on the table.
Damn.
I don't know how some furniture got knocked around. There was I'm trying to stand up for myself. I'm trying to stand up, literally. I'm not, you know, at this point, I don't even try to hit back or try to run. I'm in this hotel room trying to do my best to fight mostly the verbal accusations, but also I try to stay on my feet, you know. At some point, Johnny whacks me in the face. And
okay.
I don't remember feeling pain or like awareness of my nose or anything. I don't remember thinking that. I remember kind of crying and feeling, I went into the bathroom and I wanted him to have I just remember wanting him to realize what had happened. I wanted him to kind of snap out of it. I wanted him to care. I wanted him to realize what was going on, because a big part of this, I felt like he wasn't aware. There was this sense that he didn't know what was going on. You know,
is this the nail polish?
I don't know how much of the drugs or alcohol is a part of this, but I remember crying. I came out at some point because I don't hear him in that room. I remember we had been arguing in the main room, but I went out to the hallway, which is where I presume he walked out, and his bodyguard, Jerry Judge, was in the hall. And I don't recall seeing Johnny in the hallway, but I remember seeing Jerry Judge, who gestured to my nose.
Objection, hearsay.
She's just saying gesture. He hasn't said anything yet.
All right, gesture's fine. I'll overrule the objection.
He gestures to my nose and holds out his handkerchief, like a cloth handkerchief. And I instantly felt really embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I don't know how else to describe it. I just felt like just really embarrassing. And I went inside the room.
What, if any, injury did you have?
I had a little blood coming out of my nose. I didn't know it. I didn't feel it at the time until Jerry Jerry let me know.
Okay.
And I went inside the hotel room, and as embarrassing as it is, I remember just wanting Johnny to say sorry. I wanted him to realize it. It's so stupid, but like the emotional part. You know, I just wanted him to acknowledge that.
Jerry? No, Jerry's probably telling the truth. That part probably did happen.
That he could hurt me. You know.
She put the polish on her face.
I wanted it to be okay. I didn't want him to think I was interested in this flight attendant. I didn't want him to think that I would
to bolster her
cheating
story.
on him.
You see what
I
I'm
was
saying?
in love with him.
Because of course he would do that if he saw that there was red polish on her face.
Let's take you to July 9,
Oh, Jerry's dead?
2013. Did there come a time that you went for
There's a pattern
ride
of this.
You went to the Bahamas and went
People
on a ride
who take Amber's
on a
side
yacht
end
with
up
Johnny
dying.
and his kids?
Wow. Well,
was
that's
less
so
like
interesting. Or they're on drugs.
He flew out to the Bahamas to his island. he was
Wow.
selling the yacht to J.K. Rowling, and he wanted to kind of have a goodbye trip on the yacht. So it was docked off the island, and
Okay.
I went with him and his kids, who I had quickly developed a bond with and
That's
loved.
nice.
And we brought a friend along with us, I think, to kind of help. And yeah.
Okay. Tell the jury what happened on that trip.
Johnny was upset that he had to sell the boat, and he was off the wagon again, but he didn't want to tell his kids, so he was hiding it from them. He was putting it in coffee cups and drinking, and the behavior just kind of like, he was upset, he was emotional, and it just, you know, that's how he dealt with it, just drink. But there's just no off button with Johnny. So he just kept drinking, and the behavior kept getting more obviously drunk. And Lily Rose, his daughter at the time, was young, just like maybe 14. And she started to get panicky and started to ask me questions about his drinking.
Objection, hearsay.
Without saying what Lily Rose was saying, please continue on.
Sustain the objection.
Thank you.
So she was asking me questions about the drinking, and was very upset.
Sustain the objection.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't say what Lily Rose said.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
you can tell gestures,
Sorry.
you can tell, and you can say what you and Mr. Depp said, okay?
Sorry.
Okay.
So she was upset, and Johnny we were with the kids, and he kind of threw himself off the boat in a half playful way, like a dead fish kind of way. I don't know how to describe it, almost like a belly flop. But we were on a skip, like a smaller boat parked next to the yacht, and he's jumping. Well, he jumped off the front of it, but kind of in a face, chest forward way, like it looked a little scary, like not something somebody would do if they're completely okay. You know, it was started off all of us kind of taking turns jumping off the edge of the yacht into the water, and then he at one point kind of throws himself over, and it looked a little scary
Okay.
the way his body fell into the water. And Lily Rose
Okay.
started to cry and expressed to me that she
Objection,
was
hearsay.
upset.
Sustained.
You can't say what she said. You can tell expressions or observations, but you can't say what Lily Rose said.
So Lily Rose is crying, and then the crying becomes like a panic, like almost like a panic attack, like rapid breathing, crying, lots of questions. And I'm holding her, kind of comforting her, and Johnny comes in, and within a few seconds, I realize that he, kind of shifted his attention on me, and then he seemed very angry. He asked Lily Rose to leave. Lily Rose leaves, looks at me, leaves, crying, and Johnny, I don't remember the words he used, but starts accusing me of kind of like telling on him and calling him, a drunk in front of his kids. I hadn't done that. I was actually trying to protect Johnny. It didn't feel like my place at all to share that with his daughter or anyone at the time, other than who might help with it, but not his kids. So
Wait, what the
I
fuck?
was trying to tell him I was just trying to comfort her. I was trying to protect you.
Yeah.
He basically was accusing me of doing this thing and of making them aware of his that he was drinking again.
Yeah.
And he slams me up against the side wall of the bedroom of the we were in the bedroom this whole time, but
Okay.
up against the wall of the cabin, and slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could fucking kill me. And that was an embarrassment. I was embarrassing. It was embarrassment. This whole thing was a joke. It was all embarrassment. I made him feel sick. And I'll never forget. I'm very, very, very much in love with this whole family now. And he's saying I'm embarrassing to him. And that somehow stuck in me more than the, I could fucking kill you. It just sounded like hyperbole. It sounded like something he was just saying, but the names that he was calling me, well, kind of just pushing me up against the wall by my neck, you know, it hurt my feelings. It hurt. When I communicated when I saw Lily Rose again, we get, I won't say what she told me, but the next thing we do is we call for a helicopter to come and take us off of the boat, or off of the island. So we leave the boat, go to the landing of a part of the island, or maybe it was a different, island we had to get to leave, and we take off. I'm holding Lily Rose literally holding her under my arm while she's crying, and we're lifting off. And Jack ended up not coming with us at the last minute. He stayed behind.
Okay.
And we were taking off, and I remember being really torn about leaving. I felt bad about leaving, even though that had happened. I still felt awful leaving. I felt awful leaving him. I also felt like I had done something wrong. He was mad at me. I wasn't sure, or what I had done, but I remember not being, I'm getting all these text messages from him calling me all these names, and it barely coherent, barely. And I'm holding his daughter crying.
And let me just stop you for a moment. Michelle, can you pull up Defendant's Exhibit 180?
Okay, here we go. We're going to have proof? All right.
It is already into evidence, Your Honor.
All right,
so
here we go.
publish it to the jury.
We're going to finally have proof of something.
And Amber, I'm going to ask you to take a look at 180.
Okay, here we go.
And this is
Here we
text
go.
messages
Where is
from Mr. Depp to you. Do you recall these?
Yes, I do.
And are these the text messages?
Yes, that's what he was sending me while I was taking care of his daughter.
Oh, shit. I cannot wait to hear his side of things. Uh-oh. Let's get thanks for the 5 subs. Appreciate it, man. This is wow, yeah. Well, all right. Let's see. Let's see what it's gonna be. Show the text. Yeah, I want to see the text. Like, let's go. I'm ready
Your
for
Honor,
this
I'm about
shit.
to go into another event. Should I keep going?
I mean, that's fine if you think this is a good point to
is
break
probably-
for the day.
I think it's probably good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and conclude for today. Again, not to
Jesus.
read anything about this case. Do not do any outside research, and don't discuss it with anybody, okay? Have a good evening. We'll see you in the morning, okay? Thank you. And again, ma'am, since you're still in the stand, you cannot discuss your testimony with anybody to include your attorneys, okay? All right. Anything further before? All right, we'll see you in the morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's such an absolute fucking shit show. I mean, really, like, oh my god. I gotta say this, right, is that, like, in my opinion, this is what I think that's going on here, right? And like, there's a lot to say, a lot to unpack, a lot to go through, a lot to get into. So here's in general what I think about this is, like, number one, I feel like whenever she's talking about him like penetrating her in a cavity search, and Johnny is like sitting there with his lawyer, and they're looking at each other just like smiling about something else. This does not seem like something that you would be smiling towards, because he's responded to other things in different ways throughout the time, right? It seems like this is going to happen. And like, there is no real emotional reaction to her bringing this kind of stuff up. Her saying, the text messages and all that. She's being hyper descriptive because she wants to paint a picture in the jury's mind, make it seem more real. Oh, of course she is, right? She said, Johnny laughed at her. She said she was taking care of his daughter. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, Johnny's hiding his emotions. Yeah, I mean, you could always say that. And that's the thing, is like, you don't really know, but I do find that to be interesting. You know what I mean? Picture of herself, Amber herself has a picture of herself holding the dog out the window. Wow, I mean, who could have ever expected such a dramatic and unpredictable change of events? How could this ever have possibly happened? Like, wow, I wonder if she was howling. Probably, yeah. And so this is my least favorite Johnny Depp movie. I mean, this is just nuts, bro. Because, like, here's the thing. I feel like her, like, the one picture that she submitted as evidence, right, of like the violence and all of that, the only picture, it was like, basically, so she even said, so you could say Johnny Depp, he's got all the rings on, right? He's wearing a bunch of rings. And you could say, oh, well, he's not wearing those at home. But she explicitly confirmed that he was wearing these rings at home. And so I'm sorry, man, but there's a reason why brass knuckles are fucking, we used to be, I don't know if they're still legal, right? It's a deadly weapon. Because rings are basically the same fucking thing if you've got those on all your hands. So let me get this straight. So this guy, they still aren't? Yeah, okay, there you go. So let me get this straight. This guy who's brutally slapping you around, and like this happens, and you finally get away from that, and you take a picture of yourself of the damage that you've incurred because of this, and what you take a picture of is your arm, the back of your arm. How does this make any sense? Wrathchild with a 50 gift community subs. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, and she said that there was blood on the wall. There's no evidence of that either, although even if there was, it would be hard to really prove that's what happened. But there's no evidence of that whatsoever. And also, there are multiple cases, I think she mentioned half a dozen times, where Johnny Depp had slapped her. Or done something like that, something similar to slapping her, where those rings would have easily connected on her face. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? So many accusations, such little proof. Exactly. The bruise is at least a day old. Yeah, it was already green. Well, also, like, I mean, I'm telling you, man, if somebody really hits you, you're going to be bruised a lot more than that. I mean, that's what I would say. So my ex bruises for me pinning her arms to the floor to stop her from hitting. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I'm not convinced that Johnny Depp didn't cause that bruise, but I am convinced that I'm not convinced that he caused that bruise with pure ill intent, right? With like malicious, he's trying to hurt you because of this. How is it that he's trying to do that? Then also, we have another fucking part of this, which is the part where she's so this is the nose thing. So the guy gives her, because yeah, Johnny Depp walked out of the room, and then she went after him, and then that's whenever he put her arms around her, and she said he headbutted him. And then she went into the bathroom, and so she's using another person because her mom can't testify, and Jerry can't testify because they're not around anymore. So the only other people that can testify against Johnny are the other people that were on drugs. And then in the other situation, it was his kids that would be too young to testify in general. So the only time where anybody confides any degree of confidence or basically cedes any ground to her perspective, these people, for one reason or another, you can't trust or you can't receive their testimony for this. Do you see what I'm saying? How does this happen? The flight attendant was also on drugs. So what if she doesn't remember that? Well, it's because she was on drugs. If she does remember that, she's also on drugs. So how do you know really what happened? Do you see what I'm saying? So it muddies the water in each individual circumstance. Very clever. I mean, she's had years to think about it. I find it telling that she's tried to hyperventilate, testify multiple times, failed every time. I have no idea about that. Feels like they're dumping so many random allegations that the prosecution would be mired trying to refute each and every single one of them. I feel like they will. I feel like they will because there's, again, like, I feel like it's very, very simple in my mind, is that I feel like the testimonies and the information and all that is important, but it's also important to see what the evidence is and to see what the prior behavior is that is documented. And she does have a documented history of violent behavior. That's just that's the truth, right? I mean, she fucking does. That's all there is to it. So wouldn't it be the same for her testimony too, since she admitted to being on drugs as well? Well, that's the case, right? And somehow nobody else can remember anything on these massive drug-fueled escapades, but she's able to remember what the dialogue is and which room people are looking in. Like, how does this make any sense? This is very, very high, Izzy. This is very weird. Do you see what I'm saying? Look at Twitter. What do you want me to look at on Twitter? I'm not sure what there is to see. Yeah, I don't know. If you guys want to tag me in something, I will look at it. But just in general, I think this is a... yeah, Izzy, was her birthday a couple of days ago, guys. So, you know, give Izzy a late happy birthday. Hi. Yeah, I guess she probably just woke up. That's not a relationship? Yeah, it's just... It's so fucked up, man. It really is. I can't believe this because... It's like she's telling such a vivid story. And I think also, again, whenever she's telling these like little anecdotes, these little things that happen, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's this, it's like, oh, you know, my dog stepped on a bee, or, oh, this is a dress I really liked, or things like this. I feel like these are intentionally put into the story in order to make her seem more relatable to the jury, because basically the picture that she's painting is that Johnny Depp is this, you know, out of control, fucking untouchable celebrity, and she's just this, you know, girl from Maine or Texas, and she just got caught up in it. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? Yeah, it's all film dialogue. I'm not sure if it's film dialogue or not, but I find this to be extremely dog video. Tweet it at me. If you want me to see something, you have to tweet it at me. Yeah, that's the way that I find all of this information. But let's see if I can find this. Where the fuck is it? And let's see here. Okay, yep, here we go. And let's go ahead and watch the video. And there it is. Well, there he is. Wow, that's crazy. Isn't that something? Amber has crazy hot chick syndrome. That's true. Yep, that's exactly right. So, what a surprise. What an elaborate and unpredictable turn of events that this could possibly happen. Wow. And audio, there's no audio of this. There's no audio or anything like that. It's just her with the dog. It's not a big deal. I don't think that it's a big deal either. But like what I'm saying is like, yes, obviously this is unsafe for a dog. Is this something I would do with my dog? No, I don't think I would want to do that with my dog. However, this is not like you're killing the animal. This is just it's what's the word for it? It's negligent, right? But it's not that big of a deal, right? I mean, but like what I'm saying is that it feels like she's flipping the script. You know what I mean? She's flipping the script. That's what liars do. They project and twist shit they've already done. Yeah, and this is kind of what we're probably going to hear, is that half of all of this stuff is probably true. But like there's a part of it that's left out that is incriminating towards her, in terms of like how these things came to be or why they started happening. So that part is left out because it's always better to tell a half-truth than a whole lie. Because you can convince people better of a half-truth because you believe it because part of it's actually true. So it's a trick that you play on your own mind. And it's very interesting to see all of this. The text just shown at Rico Live, there's nonsense of him telling her to stop calling him. Do you think she was high in court today? No, probably not. What's this here? This very good thread covering the first part of her testimony compared to who causes IPV checklist. Think you'd find interesting. Oh, so you think that her Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that whenever she was explaining it, where like she was basically like painting like a textbook definition of a person who's violent in this way. And I think that this was done intentionally because it would show that she has some degree of like, what's the word for this? Like competency for these different tests and these different types of evaluations, because she was able to game the test that Dr. Curry gave her. And I think that she was able to do that because of her familiarity with them. And with her familiarity with the tests, it would imply that she probably knows what they say and what the indicators are ahead of time. You see what I'm saying? So they're very easy to look up. Yes, but not only is she looked up, but she is shown in the past, documented by, you know, a doctor, that she had enough knowledge to know how to subvert the outcome of these tests. Do you see what I'm saying? She failed the gotcha test that Dr. Curry gave her. I know that. I remember all of this. I've been here watching this. I know this. So it's just crazy, man. It really is. Oh, here we go. This is another, wow, what a surprise here. By the way, guys, sarcasm, this isn't a surprise. Let's go back over here and find this. Amber Heard just testified she didn't do cocaine and was against it. Nurse Erin, this is her own personal nurse. Notes state that Amber has a history of substance abuse, including an addiction to cocaine. Huh. Wow, what a surprise this is. Addiction to cocaine and liquor. So it's just, it's unbelievable. And like, my opinion is like, I think Johnny Depp, like, here's the thing, is Johnny Depp probably, to some degree, I feel like he lives like a fucking animal. He lives like a fucking animal, wakes up, has cocaine for breakfast, and goes and does what and plays guitar, right? This is, yeah, he lives like a fucking animal. And so the problem is that you're not gonna have like a girl that's like a nice, good girl that's just gonna be okay with all this stuff. Like, it's just probably not gonna happen, right? I mean, it's just not gonna happen. And so he's looking for a girl that's like him, but then whenever she is like him, maybe he's not happy about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, this is just my assumption. I have really no idea what I'm talking about, but that's just kind of the way that I see it. And, yeah, it's nuts. During a UK trial, she said she was abused and hit by her dad, so the psychologist, but on the stand today, she said she's never been hit, especially by a man, before Johnny Depp. Yes, I know she said that, and I didn't know it was her dad that hit her. I didn't know if it was her mom, so that's why I didn't bring that up whenever she said that. And it's just... Like the McAfee guy? Oh, John McAfee? Yeah, that guy lived like a fucking animal too. He eventually married a prostitute in some random country and they lived happily ever after until the government probably killed him. And so, yeah, that's basically it. Cross-examination is going to be lit. Yeah, I just... Oh my god. I don't know, guys. I feel like... I talked to John McAfee a couple of times on Twitter, but that was about it. I was always thought the guy was fucking interesting. I was gonna try to get him to go on, you know, at that time, like, Train and I were doing the Scuffed podcast. We were trying to get him to come on a podcast. I wanted to get him to do it. But, it ended up never happening. Why aren't any of her exes testifying if she abused them too? Well, the reason why they don't need to testify, because it's already been, it's already been solidified. It's already been determined already. And also, like, maybe that's going to happen. You see what I'm saying? I bet Amber intended to cavity search testimony to Megan Nuke that thinks Johnny Depp. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it certainly looks really bad. I mean, if it was true. But it's just that the thing is, with such a history of this behavior, it's very hard to say whether this is what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I see it. Let me refresh this, and we'll look at some stuff here on Reddit. I'll watch a couple of videos, and then after that, I'm killing the Reaper today.